The second activity related to conservation that we took part in was a moth inventory. This inventory was made with the help of a moth expert called Julian, who works at the University of Antioquia. Moths are understudied, especially in Latin America, where they are a great indicator of biodiversity, but where they are also the most diverse.
Moths act as pollinators, and many scientists think that they could be even more efficient than bees, for example. A lot of plants have co-evolved with them to be pollinated by them, and also they are very important in the life cycles of many species, bird species, amphibians, reptiles. They eat their larvae, and they are a very important part of the food chain.
Moths are interesting to study biodiversity conservation because if we have certain endemic moth species here, then we know specific and rare plants are in the reserve, and those plants mean a healthy ecosystem. Also, if we don't know the ecosystem we work in and its biodiversity, then we can protect its species. Therefore, the very first step is to make inventories. Julian also explained to us that moths are under-researched for various reasons. First, most of the studies available have been made by Europeans and Americans during the late 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century. It is very outdated. Second, it is only recently that Colombian scientists started researching the vast biodiversity of moths, a work which requires a large number of researchers who are currently lacking. So, in order to do this moth inventory, we had to find a way to attract the moth. And this was done by using the following setup. We had a white sheet that was attached to a wooden frame, and we used 3 different lights, 1 white light and 2 UV lights. These lights were used to replicate the moonlight, which is used by the moth as a compass to attract them on the sheet. We replicated this setup 3 nights in a row when the expert was here, so that we could observe as many species as possible. During those 3 nights, we spent a lot of time waiting and looking at the different moths that were on the sheet. Julian, the expert, was very fast at identifying most of the species, and he took a lot of time to explain us very interesting facts about them. We tried to identify unknown moth species with the help of a moth field guide. When some particularly rare species were observed, Julian collected them and brought to the lab to study them.
A little bit more. Yes. Put it inside.
We interviewed the moth expert in order to have his analysis on the state of the biodiversity in El Globo.
Dry season, the number of moth species have been a little bit lower than the past time. In these 3 nights, I have seen around 101 and 200 species.
Okay. And how many do you expect to be in El Globo or around here?
How many species?
Yeah.
Well, that's a very interesting question. I would say 1,000 species, because we have different heights.
How many are expected to be in Colombia?
We expect here in Colombia around 30,000 species.
During the 3 nights of this activity, we encountered many rare and endemic species, which was very exciting.
Last 2 nights we had the visit of 1 endemic species called Onites colombiana. This little guy. This is just inhabits Colombia. It's a really tiny moth. We don't know about its larvae, where it feeds. So the only information we know about this species, other than the form and the colors it has, is it lives in middle to high elevations.
So So far from all the species you have observed here,
Yes.
can you already make a conclusion on the state of the environment in El Globo?
The plants growing around here are secondary forest, so there are not many specialist species. Most of them are generalists. They feed on many plant species. Some of them are endemic to Colombia. Some of them I can still put a name on them. And well, those probably rely on very specific plants because they are not really abundant. Nature is returning to where it belongs. The project is going very well and it's doing its job.
This Moth Inventory was only the second attempt at it from El Globo. It is therefore a great opportunity for disseminating new knowledge to the local community. It is also very attractive for scientific tourism and research. Furthermore, the knowledge gained from this inventory helps us understand how effective the current conservation project is. As the expert explained, El Globo's biodiversity is one of a secondary forest. However, there is an increasing presence of endemic and rare species.